Alrighty, y'all. So today we're going to be doing rengas. This is a form of fixed form. So in poetry, you have non-fixed form and fixed form, basically. And fixed form means that it has specific like syllable counts, rhymes, things of that nature. The reason why I like renga is because it's actively something that you share, that you do together. Our agenda today is that we're going to have welcome, a little miniature teaching lesson. We're going to have a lot of sharing today and a lot of participation. So something about me, I'm a creator of something called DeadLast Press. Actually, today is the first day we're having an open submission for our press. I'm locally published with my poetry. I do a lot of things in the theater. I also teach with Duval counties, and I'm also a community educator with Hope at Hand. Moving on. So for today, Renga rules. Now, this is a lot. Please don't get scared. But the idea of a Renga is that one poet writes the first stanza. And so usually in a Japanese culture back in, like, I would say 1596, something like that, the one poet would come in and they would usually be someone of like esteem, you know, somebody who was like welcome in onto like, you know, the estate. And then they would write the beginning stanza, if you will, and then everybody else would participate and react to that. So the one poet writes the first stanza, which is 3 lines long with a total of 17 syllables. So the next poet adds a second stanza, a couplet with 7 syllables per line. And then the third stanza repeats the structure. The first and the fourth repeats the second. It's a lot. So we're going to pause there because that was a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions at this moment about what I just said? Okay. So I'm not a student who learns by people just rambling at me. So we're going to get into a little bit of practice. So we're going to go back. So this is called Renga with Richard. So this is by a poem by Gordon Gahuli. Now let's go ahead and read this. And then when we're done, just go ahead and write your first impressions and then we'll have a chat about it. So it begins, the blue of twilight, like a soft unspoken hope, the singed moon waiting, lucid dreams now revealing the mysteries of one's life. We are the Morai, singing souls of the journey's eternal cycle. We are the mystical 3 spinning mother thread of life. No one may alter the destinies we ordain, not even the gods. So I want you to take a moment and sit with that. And feel free to share your first impressions. I have to keep coming back here to our screen because it won't let me do 2 things at once. I don't know why. Let me see. Okay. So, does anybody have any insights that they see with this poem? And you can unmute yourself if you so desire. That's okay. Or do you have any questions?
I'm wondering who the mystical 3 is.
Oh, that's a really good observation. Especially considering that in a lot of different cultures, 3 is kind of a sacred number, and that's a repeated theme over history. Anybody else? Okay. So what we have here over to the side where you see these things in kind of a line, it's a Hokku, a Wakiku, and a Daisen. And then you see kind of after the thing called a Daisen, after our third stanza, third paragraph down, you'll see these numbers after it. What that means is that there's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5. So it's 5, 7, 5. Then the Wakiku that responds to the Hokku is 7, 7. Daisen then is a repetition of the beginning stanza, 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, 5, 7, 5. Now, can anybody else think of something that's 5, 7, 5, like a poem style you heard of before?
Haiku.
Yes, there you go. Now, what's actually kind of fun about this, and we're going to transition to our next slide as we're still talking about this. So we're not going to read this yet. We're just going to but there's this famous poet called, I think his name is Basho, and he's well known as being like this haikuist. So he does a 5, 7, 5 syllable format. And however, he actually wrote hokkus. And the difference is that a hokku actually responds to a geographical location. It makes an observation of the moon, and it also mentions blossoming. So let's look at our starter hokku of the day. Florida sun warms, the sleeping blossoms of spring, winter moon still near. So Florida sun warms, we got 5 syllables. The sleeping blossoms of spring, got 7. Winter moon still near, 5. So the beginning line, we have a place, we're in Florida. The second line, we have a mention of the blossoms. And then the third line, we have the moon. Florida's sun warms the sleeping blossoms of spring. Winter moon still near. So what I would like you to do now, everybody here, is I'm going to give you take 3 minutes, and I want you to try to respond with a wakiku. So your first line should be a link, a direct response, and then your second line should be a shift, a new perspective that you think of. And if that's confusing, that's okay. Just try to make 2 lines with 7 syllables each. They do not rhyme. A quick exit. Are there any questions before we start this?
Can you put that poem back up so we can work on our response?
Oh, yes, I very much will. I just want to make sure there's no questions about like the format. Is there any questions? Are there any questions? Perfect. I'm going to go back to our hokku then that we're responding to. 3 minutes on the clock, starting now. And feel free to put your responses in the chat so that way we can read it as well. But I do think there's a captions option on the screen, so you should be able to turn on captions if you so need. One minute left. All right, go ahead and wrap up your last thought. And this is literally no pressure. And this is always, participation is always a voluntary thing. Don't worry. I am a school teacher, but I'm not going to give anybody like a bad grade if you don't participate. All right, y'all. So we're back to our Zoom. I'm pretty sure you're getting double feature time right now. So does anybody feel comfortable enough to share what you wrote? I'm going to pull
I
up
can
the
share,
chat.
but I'm not sure if I got it right or not.
Oh, that's okay. Because what's nice about Renga, and I love, do you mind if I call you Chris? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I love that you said you don't know if you got it right, because what's beautiful about Renga, and why I love opening up Poetry Month with it, is because technically it's a poem that never really ends if you don't want it to. Now, traditionally in like Japanese culture, there's like a 36 verse version, and that would be done on this beautiful paper where each corner is dedicated to a different season and all that. Obviously, we're on Zoom, so we don't have paper. But you also have infinite rengas that you can start, and it's all about collaboration, about making observations of each other's work. And I love it because I feel like in writing can be such an insular process. So it's your time to practice, to participate. You, by already trying and doing, you've already mastered it. And now you're just learning to perfect it over time, right? So feel free to share, please, if you're honored.
The rays heat the earth dry raw. Even the rains cannot cool.
Ooh, beautiful. Snaps for you. Now, does anybody want to make a response or like an observation of that piece? Okay.
I used to teach Montessori school, so I think everything is fine. I can't critique anyone's poetry. I'll share mine.
Well, what's really lovely. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing too. I don't know if I did this right, but blood red moon rises in spring, long sandy walks on the beach.
That is so nice. Good job. And so what's really lovely is that so like, let's go back. I'm going to start with Chris first. So the rays heat the earth dry, because where we left with the Hokku is that we had like kind of like the winter moon still near. So there's this coldness there. And then, but you made an observation back to the sun. So we kind of had this idea of it drying out. And then raw, even the rains cannot cool. So you kind of escalated the season. So you've taken us forcibly into summer, which is very nice. So that means that you had a link, and then you had a shift. And then what's really kind of lovely is that Stephanie, when you took us on a geographical journey, so you linked it, and then your shift was literally taking us to a different location. So as long as there's a link and then a shift, it's perfect. Ideally, you want to try to keep it with seven, but in Japanese, you have something called mora, which is like a sound system that we try to say is a syllable, but they're not the same. Jennifer, would you like to share out loud, or do you want somebody to read for you?
I can speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Your voice is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to say also hi to my friend Ami, who's in the room. We scoped out your workshop, Ma, and so we're here together.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. Sun, please stay warm on my back. Moon, waft low amid the clouds.
Now, Jennifer, I'm gonna pick on you.
Okay.
Echo. Because I was gonna say that you have such a beautiful wakiku, but this is actually kind of a Hokku. You could really escalate to the next level.
Ah, okay.
So what you could do is do me a quick favor, Miss Jennifer. Pause. Mute your Zoom. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think what was happening is that maybe because I'm my screen share, Miss Jennifer, you and I got caught up in a loop. So I don't mean to pause you and stop you from speaking. I just didn't want to give you like a weird echo. No, you didn't do anything wrong. I was going to say, Jennifer, that you can actually make that and just give yourself a 5-7-5, and you could actually host your own Renga session with this, because you have the moon. Only thing you're really missing is just blossoming, and that'd be a beautiful Hokku. So excellent wonder. Miss Ami, Oh, by the way, if I'm very Southern, so I say miss and mister and all that. So apologies. If you would prefer me not to, just correct me. It's no big worry. But Ami, would you like to share yours?
Sure. I said, shifting ever so slowly, I pine of days not long ago. And then I realized, oh, that's 8 syllables. So I went, I pine of days long ago.
Excellent. What's nice is that haikus, especially modern versions, kind of they take the person out of nature. And so what's really lovely is that you saying the I, you actually put the sense of person back in, which is really lovely because a poem is always about our sense of self in a space. So fantastic work. Now what we're going to do is we're going to challenge ourselves. So we talked about a hokku. We're going to do what's called a daisen now. So before I show you that breakdown, basically it's like a haiku or a hokku, but it has to keep responding. So your option is that you can choose any of these lovely ones that we have in chat that you can respond to. So the chat is here. Feel free to respond to Ami's, Jennifer's, Chris's, or Stephanie's, whichever one. And you want to make a daisen. So I'm going to pop that up for you to show you the form. And I can't see your hands raised, unfortunately, because it's just my computer's being weird. But Miss Stephanie, if you can tell me if anybody has a question, that'd be lovely. But a daisen is 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. Ideally, you talk about season, time, and location. And think about this as if a hokku starts us off on a journey, then wakiku will tell us like what happens along that journey, and a daisen will take us to a new version. So kind of like a plot diagram, if you will. So with that random bit of information, you have 3 more minutes on the clock. Take your time. And feel free to put it in the chat to share. One more minute left. All right. So we're gonna exit out of the screen. The lovely dance of technology not working. So lovely. All right. So let's see what we have here. Does anybody need any more time? Okay. So if you like it last time, if you'd like to share, you are welcome to do so. And what would be nice is it tell us what kiku that you're responding to. That way we can hear it all together.
I can go. I'm responding to Jennifer's,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote the spring light blossom, night air blooms with the scent of lavender on skin.
Ooh, ooh. Okay. Does anybody want to give their thoughts or comments about that? What it makes you think of?
Can she read it again?
Oh, that Chris did really well.
Yes.
Yeah, I can read
I
it
love
again.
it.
Is that what you asked Amy? Sorry, did you want me to read it again?
Yes, it sounded so nice.
Oh, okay. The spring light blossoms, night air blooms with the scent of lavender on skin.
Fantastic. Now, with this Dyson, what is something that pops to your mind when you hear it?
I like how she did the spring with the lavender, and then it brings a person into it when she said it on skin.
Yes. Yes, agreed. Because what's nice is that you have sun, please stay warm on my back, moon, waflo amid the crowd on my back. There's like such a beautiful personableness to this. And there's also kind of like, sorry, off topic, but lavender makes me think of Lavender Haze by Taylor Swift. I don't know if that's intention, but I don't know. It kind of has like this very dreamy quality that's inherent in that song. And I thought that was very beautiful. So excellent work, Chris. All right. Would anybody else share their Dyson?
I can share. And I guess I'm more of I write personal essays, so it ends up bringing back to me. But so
it's okay.
I continued on mine. I said, shifting ever so slowly, I pine days long ago of summer romance, times never wanting to end, of youth and beauty.
That is beautiful. And there's nothing wrong with writing something that's personal. I think honestly, that's probably the poetry that we connect to the most, right? Because when you share your journey, we realize the journey we ourselves have been on, you know? So that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And Jennifer, I see you sharing. Do you want to read out loud again? You can unmute yourself, Carolyn. I'm gonna mute. Yeah, please.
Okay, sure. Spring staining the air like afternoon depression. Let me winter still.
All right. Does anybody want to respond to Jennifer's piece?
I just love that line, spring staining the air. That's just blows me away.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? I'm it's such a teacher thing to pick on a person to respond. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But what is, when you say staining the air, what does you think of? Does it bring forth any visuals?
It does, because you see spring like so beautiful, and then it's just staining. I don't know. I just see this black ink go, and then it says like afternoon depression. It's almost that's the shift, because you don't think of the spring as depression, but when it has that black cloud, that black ink just filtering the air and bringing it down on everybody.
That's such an interesting perspective. Thank
I'm
you.
a very visual person, so.
That's wonderful. What's kind of lovely, it makes me think of, I was just talking to a friend, and I said, oh, I have a migraine. She said, pollen. My answer to everything for now is pollen, because spring's here. And so you said spring staining the air. I thought immediately of pollen. And, you know, you said like afternoon depression. I'm like, wow, pollen, always having hay fevers. And then I don't know, let me winter still. Winter has this frigid temperament to it, and literature is always cold, usually very dark, very dreary. But there's a sense of like, I don't know, there's like this idea of like little rabbits curling up in their den and keeping warm for winter. It just immediately summons that to my mind. So Jennifer, what a lovely way to play with our perception of time and space and how we interact with it.
I was thinking the exact same way as you, Irma. Like I was thinking, 'cause I also have allergy, so I had a really bad allergy attack earlier this week, and so like I was like, why isn't it winter still? Because that's such a calm moment. So I really like this one because it also reminded me of like staining the air of like the pollen just kind of going around and just kind of
Mhm.
feeling ugh afterwards. But there's something about the evening and also kind of ties in with winter where I feel like way better usually during the day is actually at night. So yeah, I really like this one. Jennifer is really well done.
Oh, and by the way, because this is something that we practice at Hope at Hand or we go to share, our fixation on one particular poem does not mean that we do not love the other poem as well. Okay, so don't everybody in the class, especially the people who are just observing today, get jealous that we constantly bring up Jennifer's name. All right. Although Jennifer, when you do win your awards, remember us in this little workshop, okay? Remember the small people. Uh-oh. Jennifer's she's in Georgia with all the pollen. A moment of silence for Jennifer. May she survive the pollen. But I think what's nice is that Renga, going back again, it's all about conversation. And it's really lovely because I think sometimes people don't want to share out loud, but you can, in your writing, have a conversation with another writer. Think about having a pen pal. What a beautiful thing to make a Renga with a pen pal. Like somebody you don't get to see face to face because poetry is an intimate thing. So you go back and forth, which brings us to our next point. Anybody want to guess what the next step of what we do is? Shout it out, team. What do we get to do now? Since we just made a Dyson.
Yeah,
Mommy, do you want to guess?
7 and 7? Yeah.
Yep, you know it. So what we're going to do, and Stephanie, you said around 12:55 you had to post a link for everybody, right? Okay. So we're going to keep going on with our Ringo because we want to see how it develops. And I want us to keep seeing what we can build here. But I do want to pause and have a moment for questions outside of the Renga. Does anybody have any questions on writing or anything like that? I said writing twice.
So this next one, 7 and 7, it's the same thing where you link and shift.
Yep. So let's say if we picked Jennifer's piece, what we would say, spring stay in the air, like afternoon depression, let me winter still. And then, but we would say something like, but spring still persists for me. Summer looms ahead, ghostly. I don't know, something like that. You know what I mean? So it's acknowledgement of what is there. So the idea that spring, we can't depart from it. It's going to happen. Or we can link to the winter that's there and say that I'm going to hold on to that winter, but how are we going to shift that perspective? And what's nice about this thinking about shifting and linking and shifting is that at the end of a traditional, like you look at a villanelle or a sonnet or anything that's a fixed form, I actually got to meet Billy Collins, who is a poet laureate. And he said that I want you to think about poetry like comedy, and that a poem has a punchline, and the punchline is the last stanza, whatever shape it might take, because your whole poem is building up to that ending, that punch. What are you trying to say? And it's kind of like the theme or the idea. And that's not what it has to be, but it's a great way of people like, how do you end a poem? End it like a punchline. And so with Wakiku, ironically, you're kind of building in a punchline. You have to link and then you have to add that punch, because that punch is what takes us into the Dyson. Does that make any sense? Because I do ramble. That's why I check it. My poor children, they're only in 6th grade. They suffer so much under me. All right, y'all. So what we're going to do is put another 3 minutes. That will probably take us. Yes, Chris. Let Ramblers unite. We'll take over the world soon. All right, so we're gonna do this one. I'm gonna give you a little bit more time. So at 12:40, we're gonna do like a little mini break, and then we're gonna try to see if we can kind of write together what our poetry is becoming. Okay. All right. So let's go to our Wikiku. Until 12:40, you may start now. All right, go ahead and wrap up your thoughts, your words. And so as you guys are finishing up, basically, if we were in person, how this would go is that we would have, like I said, we would have a giant piece of paper where we would have 4 beautiful corners, and this thing would be massive, like 20 feet or something. But we don't have that. So what we have is we need to take a moment to try to collect all the words that we have so we can figure out what our actual poem is trying to say. So what we're going to do, and bear with me, because I don't have this, and go over here. Y'all get to watch my amazing copy and paste skills. Oh, Lord. It's like I always set myself up for failure when I say amazing skills, and then it's like, oh, Jesus. All right. Control C. Okay, as that is loading. All right, so we're going to pause here as this is loading for us. what are your thoughts or impressions now that you've gone through basically, now you're on your second cycle of this response? What are your thoughts?
Where is this going?
Go ahead, Ami.
Where is this going? That's what my thoughts are.
That's nice, because we have to kind of hold ourselves accountable and see. Well, it fails me, so we're gonna go down here. Where is?
Kind of also feel like it's
Google
improv, but
Drive.
without really sort of, or you have to keep track.
Mhm.
Like you can't really just go with it. You also have to reflect back on what you've done.
Yes. And so ideally what happens is, usually if you're in a true Renga session with somebody, if you're sitting at a table, I'm actually in a library right now, which is fun because you can actually get free space at a library. You can get study rooms or convention rooms or anything like that, as long as it's free and open to the public. So you can actually come in with a bunch of writers and sit together. And what you'll do is that everybody down the line of the table would get a different part. So somebody, obviously the host, would get the Hokku, and then the next person the Wakiku and the Daisen, and ideally everybody would eventually get to work together. So that would be what the thing would keep us accountable. But, well, the drive is being dumb. So I just need one piece of technology to work for me today, which would be ideal. Right, Stephanie? Technology, please. Like somebody, what altar do I need to build? What ancient god do I need to summon? Cthulhu, does he handle like Chromebooks? All right. So that being said, what our next goal, what you're going to see me do is I'm going to open up the document. I'm going to copy and put the Hokku down. And then from there, we're going to kind of like piece together this poem. So we're going to do the Hokku. We're going to do the first Wakiku. Then we're going to choose a Daisen. And this is like, once again, not favoritism. We're just going to kind of piece together what our poem would like for it to say by ideally by 12:50. So 7 minutes, we're going to make something that means something. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Give me a thumbs up if you feel stressed by that short time limitation. But I like, who was it that said that it feels like improv?
Sorry, it was me, Chris.
Okay, perfect. Because I can only see my screen at the moment. So Chris, I think that's a great assessment, because you got to think, if you're doing live poetry, you don't have the time to really sit to do a lot of like meditation and fixing and all that other stuff. And I think that editing is very, very vital for being a professional writer. But there is a time and a place for it. But there's also a time and a place for creation. And I don't think we always allow ourselves enough time to just simply create without expectation of what the writing needs to be. Because, you know, when we go push into our classes with our kids, I mean, like sometimes they write me a listicle of like, you know, their favorite things. And then I'm not going to tell them, oh, you can't make a listicle. You know, the act of creating itself, just anything. The act of actually approaching a piece of blank paper and actually doing is a really amazing thing. You know, it's an avoidance of our destructive tendencies, if you will. So let's go ahead and get this started. So as a reminder, here, Microsoft Word, you fail me. You're too slow. So we got the Florida sun warms the sleeping blossoms of spring, winter moon still near. So as a team, which Wakiku do we want to put next? What's our first line? And probably more helpful, if you scroll up on the meeting chat, you'll actually see we have Ami was the first, shifting ever so slowly, a pine of days not long ago. Do you want to use this one since Ami was the first brave enough to write it? Yeah? Yeah. All right. Ami, you're being you're being volunteered. Yeah, woo. All right, so just do me a favor. Somebody read that out loud for me.
Shifting ever so slowly, I pine of days long ago.
Like that? Shifting ever so slow. Yep, okay, got it. All right. So we have now, I'm gonna put, before we leave also, I wanna get everybody's name. I'm not gonna share this without permission, but if you give me permission, I would like to share it. All right. That's not me trying to coerce you, by the way. That's just putting that in the air. All right. So we have a wakiku. Now, what is somebody's Dyson that we want to use next? And feel free to use the chat to pick. You guys can talk about it. I'm going to be quiet now.
Is the Dyson the 575?
Yep.
I like Jennifer's one. That was this, was it
First line?
the stain or something? Oh, is that the, oh, that's a 3. She had the first one, yeah. Something
That's
about
okay.
the stain. Was that the 575? This,
Yeah, the stain of spring.
yeah, I really like
Jeff.
that.
Okay, then Jennifer, could you do me a favor and could you, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah,
Would you like me? I'll read it to you. Where is it? Yeah, I see it. Spring staining the air. Like afternoon depression. Let me winter still.
Thank you so much. All right. Let's see. And then so we have, I had back. Okay. So now what we have, if I remember correctly, we have a wakiku that was a response to our last Dyson session, right? So let's go ahead. And as our last little thing we're going to do, let's see who would like to share their wakikus and we can figure out how we're going to wrap this up. Our poem reads as such. Florida sun warms the sleeping blossoms of spring, winter moon still near, shifting ever so slowly like pine of days long ago, spring staining the air like afternoon depression, let me winter still.
Oh, it's I.
And y'all thought we didn't have a poem. What'd you say?
It's I pine of days long ago. I pine.
There we go. That makes a lot more sense. So I pine of days long ago. There we go. All right. So how are we going to, what is our punchline for this? No pressure. Chris, you know, I've just thought to myself, we do have Jennifer, we have Ami, and we have a lot of lovely other people that I haven't acknowledged. We have lovely Elizabeth and Jessica. Thank you both for being here. You also can participate too if you like, but you can also listen. That's okay. There's no pressure. I just want you to feel included. We have the lovely Stephanie. So, Chris, do you want to have the wakiku to end this?
I don't know if mine really ends it, but I had cloud bursts with icy raindrop bounce like marbles on gravel. Oh, I forgot the on.
Oh, that's beautiful. Repeat the first line for me.
Sure. Clouds burst with icy raindrops bounce like marbles on gravel.
Sounds like, oh, whoops. Okay.
Oh no, it was bounce.
Oh no. Bounce like marbles on gravel?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's look at this together. Who would like to read the poem out loud? Jennifer, do you want to do it? Or actually, Stephanie, do you want to do it?
You guys go ahead.
Hold on. Put your thumbs up if you want Stephanie to read the poem.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. Is this workplace bullying? I don't know. But yes. All right, Stephanie, I'm going to I will do a thing so make it a little bit more accessible, so that way everybody can also see it together. I'm going to copy it. I am going to also copy it. That way people can also fix it if I messed up. Because I am hard of hearing. Good Lord. All right. There we go. And I'm also going to stop sharing screen right now. Oh, pressure off. Thank God. All right, whenever you're ready.
I don't see it.
It's in chat.
Oh, it's in chat. Okay. You know, I'm trying to keep my mouth shut with all these braces on my face, and you're asking me to read.
But your braces, it looks nice. My God, I'm jealous. Let me tell you, I don't have my mouth too wide because I need braces. Let me tell you.
Okay, here we go. Florida's sun warms the sleeping blossoms of spring, winter moon still near. Shifting ever so slowly, I pine of days long ago. Spring staining the air like afternoon depression, let me winter still. Clouds burst like icy raindrops, bounce like marbles on gravel.
Yay! Good job, everybody. Good job, Stephanie. Beautiful oration. So that's what it is, y'all. That is a linking poem. And so with our last little 2 minutes before the link goes up, I just want to, in your practice, there's so much to learn about this beautiful art form. I only gave you a Western approach to this. Please feel free to research. Please feel free to go delve into it because there's so much complexity in it. Really, me presenting this is not just feeling like it's a perfect form to start Poetry Month with, but also this need that we need to learn form because it's a celebration of sound, really, and of learning how to work within the constraints of poetry. And also, I'm kind of tired of people like, I write haikus and not understanding or respecting the beautiful art form that it is. And but that's on Western education, not respecting international artists. But whatever, take a step back, as with my headband. So with that being said, if y'all want to find me on Facebook, y'all are all invited. Everyone from Miss Ami all the way down to Elizabeth, Jessica, obviously Chris, Jennifer, you beautiful goddess. Adore you, Ami, adore you, Chris, Stephanie. You already know you have my love. Feel free to find me on Facebook. I'm Ma Bones, and I'd love to chat with y'all later. And if you see me on the flip side, always say hi. And thank you for coming to the workshop, y'all.